You are live.
All right, thank you very much. Welcome everyone to the September 8th NSA Ad Hoc meeting. I see most of the participants are here. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay, and I think this is the agenda. Yeah. Okay, so this is our agenda for this evening. Apologies, my computer is so slow. Can you all see that, Mr. Contreras? Can you see that okay? Okay. All right. For the most part, we're here. I believe that uh, the commission chair may be joining us a little bit later. I'm not sure if Director Lawson is coming, um, but we have enough people to get started. So we're going to go over the plan of action and milestones. That's what POEM stands for, as well as our potential letter to the court that Inspector General Malouf sent me on Friday. We're going to review it together. And if we have time, we can go over a potential outline about the things that we want to communicate to the court within the CMC statement. But let's just, I think the priority here is to go over this letter to the court and quickly go over the timeline. And I'll bring up the timeline right now. Okay, here we go. There we go. Scroll. All right. And we are at September 8th. Okay, so last week we met on Tuesday due to the Labor Day holiday. We discussed what we want to communicate within our next CMC statement. And I have spoken with the chair about that, and he was in agreement about communicating the importance of the independence of the Inspector General position, how it's designed right now as our primary thing to communicate, and then a secondary thing to communicate the different initiatives within the Director Action Plan as we discussed. And if for some reason, after his discussions with the NSA core group meeting was supposed to meet last Wednesday, but due to the internal monitoring team visit, that meeting was postponed. I don't believe that a new date has been set, so we may just have to wait a couple of Wednesdays until they meet again. But I did communicate to the chair about how we wanted to ask the mayor's office and the parties within that group um, what their intentions are, if any, concerning amendments to the city charter, concerning how the inspector general position is laid out as it is currently, whether or not they want to change that or not. And so we were going to discuss that briefly with him tonight, but I did discuss that with him over the phone, so he is on board with discussing that with them. And now we're going to discuss the letter that we want to communicate to the court, which is kind of like our, campaign for keeping things like they are, so to speak, or at least just showing the importance of how the position is designed now, that it's paramount to keep things like that and provide reasons why. Um, so that's what we're going to do tonight here under September 8th, review IG draft letter to the court. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else that's changed about the plan of action. Oh, the other thing that I wanted to point out is that basically from today up until when we want to show a draft of a CMC statement to the police commission, which is on, we have about three and a half, we have like 3.5 weeks. So after this meeting, if we're not able to get to that a little bit tonight, the next meetings after that are primarily going to be dedicated to doing that. I don't think we're going to need to spend too much time on this letter to the court but we'll see after we get into it exactly how much time we think we need to dedicate to it. Maybe, next week's meeting, 10 or 15 minutes, and then the rest is dedicated to initiating the draft CMC statement because we said we were going to get the draft CMC statement to the commission during, um, let's see, well, we're going to discuss the IG's letter with the commission on at our September 25th meeting, as you can see here. And then we're going to discuss, let's see, I guess at our next commission meeting, yeah, discuss draft CMC statement October 9th. So we have a little bit of time, but not a ton of time. We have about a month, basically, September 8th to October 9th. But actually, we have to get this draft CMC statement to our chief of staff the Friday before this NSA Ad Hoc meeting on the 6th. So really, we have until the 3rd. Send draft CMC statement to chief of staff for OPC agenda. So from tonight to then, we want to put together a draft CMC statement, and before that, we're going to have the IG letter to the court discussed with the full commission back at this meeting on September 25th. So let's quickly get to it, and I will bring up the draft letter. Are there any questions about this? For some reason, my video is off. I'm not sure why.
A comment, alternate commissioner.
Oh, there we go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. What is
So
there?
I would need if you can revise that because I would need that by October 2nd. October 3rd, I will be celebrating my daughter's 21st birthday in Los Angeles, so I will not be here.
Okay, there we go. October 2nd.
Yes. Thank you.
Yep. Thank
That's
you.
impossible. How can a 42-year-old woman have a 21-year-old daughter?
That's why I love you, Mariano. That's why I love you, my friend.
Okay. I thought it was going to be in Vegas or something.
Yeah,
But
we changed it.
okay.
It was going to be in Vegas. We changed it. I'm going down to LMU, where she goes to school.
Oh, very nice. All right. I like that part of LA. Cool. All right. Vice Chair, are you there? Do you mind turning your video on, please? So we can see your beautiful face. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I
There you go.
my face, but I just want to
Yeah.
be off for a second so I could eat some snacks.
Okay. All right. Well,
But I'll be back on.
okay, cool. Do you have any comments about this, the timeline or anything that I talked about? You good? So I know when we talked
Um,
over the phone last week, I didn't bring up what our intentions were in terms of the CMC statement and all that stuff. So you're just now hearing it.
yeah, I know. I didn't actually get the update, but no, it's fine so far.
Okay. Well, if you have any thoughts as we proceed, just feel free to jump in.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
All right, cool. All right. So then we have the CMC statement. Or the court's statement. Statement to the court. Let me make this bigger. Okay. And then I'm going to email this out to everybody as well. Um, but I'm going to pass it to you, IG, if you want to just take us through this, and then we can discuss the letter.
Sure, absolutely. And good evening, everyone. First of all, Commissioner Farmer, so if you're going to email this back to everyone, then I guess I don't need to make notes or changes on mine. We're going to make them on yours, and then you can send it back. Is that right?
Okay, yeah, we can do it like that, sure.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll just kind of start. Obviously, the date is going to change. It's going to be the date that we get ready to submit it, or once it's finalized. But you got September 5th, 2025, to Honorable William H. Orrick, United States District Court, Northern District of California. And this is going to be regarding long-term reform strategy. Now, I want to kind of emphasize that's going to be, long-term after the negotiated settlement agreement. It was going to happen after the court hearings, after the CMC. So that's why we can always decide to do something else, but I think the focus is long-term reform strategy. So, dear Judge Orrick, the Office of Inspector General, I'm going to read this. I know you guys are reading along, but we're going to stop after each sentence to see if there needs to be any clarification or correction. The Office of Inspector General, OIG, is uniquely positioned to support the City of Oakland and the Oakland Police Department, OPD, in sustaining the reforms spelled out in the negotiated settlement agreement, NSA. Now, stopping right there in that sentence, I feel positive about that sentence, that we are uniquely positioned to support the city. And I want to emphasize that we're not here to fight against the city. We're not here to fight against OPD. OPD success is a community success, is our success. So that's why I said we're uniquely positioned to support the city of Oakland and OPD. And of course, the reforms spelled out in the NSA. Before I go any further, do we have any discussion about that particular sentence? Anything that someone does not like or like addressed one way or another? With that said, moving on.
But actually, quick question. I don't have a problem with the sentence. I just, I think it also would be helpful, maybe, and I'm not sure if you do this throughout the letter, but like to maybe even use language straight from the charter or Measure S1, something like that, to make it crystal clear exactly what you're saying. It's clear to me. I think it will be clear to him, but I think that would like reinforce, make it even stronger to show how there's already buy-in, to all of this.
Okay. And coincidentally saying that, my first draft was mentioning Measure S1 and how the OIG was established. Then I took it out because I'm trying to just keep it to a page and a half. But
Okay.
I think, well, no, that's good information. I'm glad you mentioned that. So I'm going to,
Or if anything, just cite the source, put,
Okay.
as a reference.
Right. Okay.
Actually, yeah, and actually, can you take notes? Because I left my notepad in the other room, and I can't like I would type it up, but I'm showing this on the screen. I can't type anything.
Not a problem. I got you.
Thank you.
Okay. Before I go any further, let me just kind of address to everyone what I recently learned as I was completing this letter. And I'm thinking about mentioning it, but I haven't decided to or not. What I recently learned is that the city had officially now eliminated 4 of my 5 frozen positions. So the city has eliminated 2 of my auditor positions, 1 of my audit manager positions, and the policy analyst positions. Those positions are eliminated. So probably going to address that a little bit later on. It's not addressed in the letter, but I might do that because we're supposed to do policy review, and it's kind of hard to do without a policy analyst. So moving on. The OIG is designed to take over the compliance role once the NSA sunsets. Now, it's very important because I know some of the community members are like, we're not trying to say that we're going to take partnership of the compliance director. I'm just stating a fact. The OIG is designed, and it is designed to take over the compliance role once the NSA sunsets. So then, in fact, The Oakland City Charter 604F5 explicitly states that the OIG shall continue monitoring OPD's compliance with NSA tasks even after the agreement expires. And so that is where I'm actually quoting the 605F, the charter. Is there any question or comment about that sentence before I go on? Okay, stop me anytime. The OIG maintains NSA reforms by auditing, inspecting, evaluating, and reviewing OPD's Department General Orders, DGO, and other policies and procedures, including those that are related to the NSA. And then identifying systemic issues, especially as they relate to discipline, training, and supervision. And then publishing reports and recommendations to the Police Commission, City Council, community members, and stakeholders. And then following up with OPD to monitor compliance and implementation of OIG's recommendations. And this is where our recommendation tracker comes into place. So the fourth bullet point is the recommendation tracker. So that's the following up and monitoring compliance. Are there any questions about those specific areas that someone would want me to either elaborate on or eliminate or revise?
No, I like it. I was thinking maybe to add something about overseeing internal affairs, but I guess that has to do with the discipline, training, and supervision anyway. So
I think Mr. Contreras has a comment as well.
Yes, thank you. I believe that the term reform is good when you first use it, but once you start outlining what the OIG maintains, I think maybe I would recommend, I don't know, see what the group thinks. The OIG maintains the NSA constitutionally policing by, or the OIG maintains constitutionally policing by, because by this point in the letter, the reform it's not a reform anymore. It's something that is being practiced every day. And just to let everyone know, I have it's kind of like a personal, the use reform for me is trouble, but I think in the beginning it's a good term. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Contreras, I totally agree. Actually, that second reform that we're talking about now, I struggled with that myself and struggling for a different word to use. And I do like the OIG maintains constitutional policing. I think that's right on point. And
I like that. I like that too. Should I change it like it is here? Take out the red and keep the yellow highlighted one?
Oh, taking out NSA as well, correct. Yeah,
Take that
NSA.
out, right?
Mhm.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. What else were you saying, IG?
No. That's good. So, okay. So point well taken. So the OIG maintains constitutional policing by, and then those 4 points. Okay. And then after the 4 points, these core functions maintain continuity, I don't know how to say that word, continuity of oversight and local accountability and community-informed reform. I got the reform again there. Community-informed reform. Let's stop right there. Mr. Contreras, specifically, do you have an issue with that? Now, I haven't, let's see, these core functions maintain continuity of oversight, local accountability, and community-informed reform.
How about compliance? Or changes? But I think compliance is a little bit more to the point.
Well, we're talking about these these core functions. Oversight, accountability, and community-informed compliance.
As you, as
Yeah,
you,
maybe not.
Shawana,
as, as you wordsmith it, I don't have a thing for words, but I do have a curiosity, which is if funding doesn't change and the OIG remains the same, are we sure, can all of these things being named continue to be done?
Good question. So the answer to that is yes, because I have plans and those plans are currently in motion. So let me back up a little bit. My office is currently working with clinics, law clinics, to use their interns to help with policy review. And allegedly, if you have a position frozen and you use interns, are you violating any type of
Mm.
union bargaining rules? So by the city eliminating those positions, then there are no union positions that would be questionable as far as violating, because those positions are eliminated, which frees me up to be able to use interns to help, legal interns specifically, to help with policy review. Now, when it comes to auditing, that's going to be questionable because right now they did leave me one vacant audit position. So that's a vacant position that eventually, potentially I can fill. Inspecting, we do that now. Evaluating, we're constantly doing. So the answer is yes, we can still move on to do the work. Now, it's not going to be as quick. It's going to take much longer to do the work because we're very limited staff, very limited resources. But we have to look for that high return on investment as we do our work.
Thank
All right. Okay. So changing that last word, reform, we were discussing in community.
I looked up some thesaurus stuff and improvements. Maybe. I think sustain yeah is wrong term here.
you're talking about here, Mr. Contreras?
Yes, the first sentence in this paragraph, and community informed reform
That's what we're talking about, right?
and community informed improvements, recommendations, you know. Or I would even say, you know, reform here, I think would be acceptable.
Yeah, I think, I can't think of a better word at the moment, but maybe we come up with something down the road, and I'll just highlight this for now for us to think about a little bit more. How about that?
Yes, likewise. I did that on mine. I'm just going to highlight that. I put some other words in there temporarily to kind of consider as the days go by. Okay, so then moving along. So since its inception, the OIG has published reports with recommendations and considerations that support community calls for sustained police reform and full compliance with NSA task.
Looks good to me.
Anybody else have any issues with that sentence?
I mean, do you want to elaborate on what your reports are to be more specific?
So I did initially, and then I took it out. And I did, meaning I specifically added DGO this report, DGO that report, and its recommendations.
Yeah, well, maybe
Um,
maybe not like that in detail, but just saying since its inception, OIG has published, I don't know, updated or revised DGOs or revised just policies and reports. You want to just describe what the types of policies they are, you know, because we're not talking about like an ordinance or a resolution. We're talking about like departmental, like, you know, general orders, right? For the most part.
mhm, mhm.
I mean, you know, I'm flexible. I'm just saying I think it would be a little bit more descriptive, or we can just leave it, you know, as reports. I think it's a little bit vague, honestly. But the judge should know what you mean by reports. But I don't know exactly how much the judge knows or doesn't know exactly about what's the specific things you're working on.
Okay. Point well taken, and I agree because initially, like I said, I added key examples. So underneath, I'm looking at one of my other drafts right now. So bear with me for a second. So let me see. Yeah, right under this, I added key examples, publication of the compliance evaluation of DGO OB08 field training, and then what that task was associated with. That was task 42. And then the DGO policy, and then I put the release date, which I'm going to take off because some of that release date um, predates me. And then the review of internal affairs, and then that DGO policy, and then a related task, that'll be task 4. And then up to the most current one, the compliance inspection NSA task 3 integrity task. So what I could do is those 3 examples I can put back in a
Or you can
revised.
cite them as a reference, as I just
Mhm.
was writing here, either one.
Mhm.
I mean, because you do set it
think
up here. You maintain constitutional policing by auditing, inspecting, evaluating, and reviewing DGOs, other policies and procedures. So maybe that's enough, honestly, now when I think about it. And then maybe cite a reference here or cite a reference in this first bullet point.
Okay.
I think that time is of the essence, and this stuff here is fine, but it doesn't mean anything. It's not tangible in a way that shows, and I'm not trying to be insulting in any way, but I'm just like, if we are want to add this, what is something, even if it's not fully like, of the how many policies have reviewed, maintained, collaborated, blah blah blah, have 50% of these policies, or something like this is like a blurb of what you do and the work and what we do and what the office does, but how does this position us to say, hey, we have an actual clear vision of what oversight looks like in our care, and this is not tangible. So if there's any way we can make this tangible with saying, hey, as we transition out, we've thought about a timeline, or we've already started this kind of stuff, that is some have some impact. Like, what's the impact? um that's what I would encourage us to lean towards, or naming more specifically with the success you've had already, which has been some, and saying, and we continue to to do this. This is our rollout plan. If that
Ms. Booker, you have a good point. Actually, I kind of, if I follow you directly, so in this specific sentence, what we can show is what percentage of our recommendations, for example, 80% of our recommendations have been implemented up to this point. Are you referring to something like that?
Yeah, something like that. And over the next 6 months, we anticipate doing this and this, and this is how we'll maintain this. Because what we need to show is that we're ready for oversight. And being ready is not just here's a task, but like some clear action plan. And maybe that's another meeting, or that's a meeting that we have, we have a clear agenda of that's what we're thinking through together. But I think leveraging what that looks like will be more clear to people.
Mhm. So I think what I could do to make this sound stronger and more accurate, because that it's put the percentage of the recommendations that have been implemented, the percentage that are been partially implemented, and the ones that are still pending implementation.
Yeah. And then maybe anything we anticipate or some timeline with that. Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry, I was just thinking real quick of some of the current projects that's going on. One thing I don't want to do is mislead the court or anyone by saying that we anticipate to have a certain amount of projects done by the end of the year, and we fell at that. And with our very, limited staff, I have to be able to produce what I can produce. So I feel a little hesitant to say this is what we can do when I know my resources are extremely little. I can say this is what we're working on, but I don't want to give an anticipation date of when it can be completed. Now,
I
to be
don't think
honest
you
with
have to.
you,
I don't
with
think
you
you have to
guys,
do that.
yeah,
Sorry.
I
with you
don't think
guys,
you need,
I do anticipate, close of this semester for my interns to give me the new policy recommendations for what they're working on. But I feel uncomfortable just really, um, let me think for a minute.
Well, while you're thinking, I think this is a great recommendation and does make it more tangible, like Vice Chair Booker was saying. Um, and I think we should do that as much throughout this letter as possible. And I just want to make sure I got this right. So we want to cite the percentage of recommendations implemented and in progress, and potentially, as we think about it, cite like future results that we may have that we um, like for sure know that we'll have at minimum, so that we don't get ahead of ourselves, because those are the kind of things that we've talked about before anyway. Maybe we can pull some language from something that we've worked on in the past, um, that'll help communicate that.
and I would just, caution, and I think that's fine maybe for this report, but I do think we need to have a separate conversation about some timelines.
Mhm.
That makes sense, even with the lack of funding, because funding may never change. And if we lean into that, what we'll say is that we are unable to do our job, and then that doesn't make money appear. And so it's like with the circumstances that we have, and with the resources that we have, how can we produce realistic, measurable goals? And so we might say fully staffed, there might be that reality that fully staffed, it might happen in 2 months, but at the staffing size that we have, instead of 50% achieving, it might be 25%, it might be 15%, but something that names that we actually have something tangible to hold ourselves accountable as well as a target, because leaning into lack of resources is going to be consistent, and that doesn't actually give us leverage. That actually weakens us if we, lean into that too much, because I don't see, and I'm no financial person, but I don't see in the foreseeable future where the budget is going to change.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that could weaken our position potentially as well. Mr. Contreras?
Yeah, thank you, Vice Chair Booker. This great recommendation. I think this is this here. If Inspector Maloof can also maybe also using percentages, staff percentages that it took to come up with these to complete these recommendations. And so that way it sort of builds the argument that, look, like what Vice Chair Booker is saying, with this amount of staff, we can only do this. So if maybe you can just put a one or two lines in there, in terms of what percentage of the staff, your staff, whatever level it is now, it took to complete these. Thank you.
Okay. Point well taken. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next paragraph.
So we're
Or-
just going to think about that and come back to that.
Well, I do, yeah. I mean, I hear what everyone is saying, and I do have percentages that I can pull up and implement in there as far as the percentages of the recommendations that have been implemented, that are pending. I can do that. I don't think that's going to be an issue. Now, when it comes down to future or potential results, I'm going to struggle with that a little bit. But I think what we've done in the past, one of the things I don't want to do is I want to talk about facts. This is a fact. It's past. This is what we've done. So therefore, this what shows what we can do versus project things out and be, misguiding. I don't want to misguide anyone at all.
No, I hear you. I think that before we move forward, this is why I like how Mr. Contreras brought up the sustainability period initially, and I think this could be something where maybe within the CMC statement or a direct communication with the court, where we make, because I've been wanting to do that as well, make a recommendation around the sustainability period, because when you look at other departments that have been under consent decrees, for example, they have much longer sustainability periods than has been recommended here. And those departments, had many more tasks to complete and did it in much shorter time frame. So that could be something we discuss more in detail if we decide to do a second letter to the court. Maybe we allude to a little bit here, or maybe we put it some of that in the CMC statement to plant that seed. And we can use concrete facts around how other departments have conducted their sustainability period to back that up. And I have a lot of that information. You probably have some of that information as well, or at least access to those departments.
Okay. Okay, so should I move on?
Yes, please move on.
Okay. So, additionally, the OIG has worked to assess OPD's duty to protect and serve all members of the Oakland community. I'm sorry, I read that wrong. It says the OIG has worked to assess OPD's duty to protect and serve all members of the Oakland community. To this effect, the office, OIG, has issued recommendations and considerations for OPD's implementation. These reports aim to support OPD officers so that they can deliver fair, equitable, and respectful service, a cornerstone of constitutional policing, and reduce the potential harms against vulnerable populations. I'll stop there and see if there's any discussion on that paragraph. Mr. Contreras.
Just a question. Do we need to identify vulnerable populations?
Yeah, something that's pointed out in the charter is our charge do outreach to frequently police communities or over police communities, however you want to communicate that. That's a type of vulnerable population. As well as if you go over, say, the armored vehicle policy, for example, we revised that back in 2021. We dedicated a whole page to towards describing what vulnerable populations meant to us.
Okay, so I put that as where I'm going to elaborate on what vulnerable populations, what that means or what that looks like. But Commissioner Farmer, if I'm hearing you correctly, you said that you've already described what vulnerable populations are somewhere.
In that context, we have. We described what vulnerable populations mean in terms of alerting people to deployments of the Bearcat, for example, because it's been proven to trigger people's trauma or create trauma amongst people in over-policed communities. So, in that context, it's been described, as well as in the charter. If you review our mandate to do an outside of city hall meeting, it says to do that to among, uh, uh, but not limited to youth, faith-based people in the community, to communities that have frequent contact with the police. That's specifically pointed out. So something along those lines, or you can cite that area of the charter as a reference.
Okay. I'll work on that.
And I can email you what I'm referring to so you can check it out.
That would be great. That'd be great. I appreciate that.
I'm going to talk a little bit about it on Thursday night.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so then the OIG. So this part, I started to revise it already, to be honest with you. First of all, let me just, so under, before it says it's critically important, I'm going to add the OIG is an independent department in Oakland. So just to try to clarify, we are an independent department in Oakland.
How did you phrase it? Independent department?
I'm sorry. Yes. The OIG is an independent department in Oakland.
In Oakland?
Mm-hmm. Could probably revise that to say, well, it is an independent department. And then from there, or let me just stop there. Okay. And then it's critically important for the OIG to remain independent. From city departments, because oversight without independence is merely observation, not accountability. Independence, now I go on to something that's more of a opinion, so I might take this out. Independence isn't just a structural preference, it's the foundation of effective oversight. Without it, the OIG risks becoming a symbolic office rather than a transformative one. Now, I do like that part, but the other part that I just mentioned about independence isn't just a structural preference, it's a foundation of effective oversight. Does anybody have any issues with those last two, or with that paragraph?
I like it. Personally, I would say that isn't just a structural preference, but it's a cornerstone of effective oversight. And then I like that last sentence. Without it, the OIG risks becoming a symbolic office rather than a transformative one. I dig that one. Yeah.
Okay. You just mentioned that independence isn't just a structural preference, it's the cornerstone of effective oversight. Do you want to change that?
That's how I feel. Does everyone agree with that? Okay.
I think that sounds nice.
Okay, please continue.
Okay. The OIG's primary functions are to conduct. Now, this part I might take out because I kind of talked about it already in the first paragraph.
I agree. I was
Yeah.
just gonna say that.
Thank you. Let me just read it and then I'll probably take it out. The OIG's primary functions are to conduct performance audits, evaluations, inspections, and reviews, provide independent and objective analysis to the public, and make recommendations to action holders, including those responsible for governance and oversight. This effort ensures allegations of officer misconduct are thoroughly investigated and provides an opportunity to identify systemic issues within OPD and SIPR's practice and procedure and policies. The OIG seeks not only to hold OPD accountable, but to have community impact and public trust. Now, I think those last two sentences are okay. I just got to figure out how to implement it. If I take out that first complete sentence where it says the OIG's primary functions all the way to those responsible for governance and oversight. So I'm considering taking that out, rewording it, and summarizing it, and then to continue on with these efforts to ensure allegations of officer misconduct are thoroughly investigated, et cetera.
I think my struggle with this, I think it could all be gone. I think my struggle with this is a letter to the court and people who know what the OIG is, even though sometimes our audience is public. And I don't know what the point of this is to name. If this aligns with what the insertion of this is, we're not in this pleading for the importance of the office of the OIG. What we're saying is we have capacity to do a job that's we're being charged to do. So I think some of this language is just words that will be dismissed. I just don't see the place here in this thing. I don't think it's not important, but I think the audience doesn't need this.
I feel very comfortable taking it out. That's why I said the first
Yeah.
thing is, yeah.
But even that last piece too that you would consider keeping, I would think all of that could potentially go.
Yeah, this whole sentence of this paragraph is just redundant. You know,
Mhm.
I mean,
Mhm.
what's going on with my computer here, but so we want to take this out. Yeah, the OIG starting with that, ending
That
it,
whole paragraph, I think the whole paragraph as he said.
but from hold on, this whole thing,
Yep.
get rid of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, I'm just going to delete it. I was going to strike through it. Okay.
Okay. So then we go straight into constitutional impact on constitutional policing. So to be honest with you, I was thinking about taking this whole thing out too, and summarizing it in basically one sentence. But I had a little bit of a struggle. But let me read it. So thanks to the OIG's work, Oakland is working to strengthen safeguards against racial profiling. Now I'm going to take out what says DGO M19. That was just a reminder of where is that shown. That's shown in the work of DGO M19. And then police policies are being aligned with national constitutional standard. Where is that shown? That shows in the pursuit policy and some of the other things that we've done prior to me and during my tenure. And
But
then oversight.
how is that the pursuit policy review getting back in line with national constitutional standards?
Well, I only said that because some of the work that my policy analyst did was to look at other alike cities on their.
Yeah, so you guys did research, right? Yeah, but the actual there's no changes to the policy that really
And that
reflects.
pursuit policy is not part of the NSA anyway.
Well, that's what some people say. I say that it is because an increase in speed can be looked at as an increase in use of force. So it technically
100%, but
yeah,
it's
so that's all. I just want to finish what I'm saying, because so that's why it technically can be. And I believe that the city attorney's office also agrees with that. It also
but that's not the point that I'm making. The point that I'm making is if the judge is saying that they don't want to have anything to do with the pursuit policy, as he said at the last CMC, then we don't really need to insert it here and put leverage on this kind of thing.
I agree.
That's what the point I'm trying to make. Yes, use of force and all of that stuff. I agree. We need to take it serious. But in terms of what we're trying to do here, the judge doesn't care about that.
Yeah, he doesn't care about it. I think we should take it out too. I agree.
Okay. And then that last bullet point, yeah, I feel comfortable taking, be honest with you, all of this out and just kind of rewording it.
Mr. Contreras wanted to say something too.
Sorry.
I was going to just to say exactly that, use of force. Isn't there a DGO specific to that?
Yeah, I don't remember what the K9 is use or K4 is use of force, I believe.
Okay. Or can we just make a general statement? Just use of force, changes, recommendations,
Yeah,
or
because
best practices?
yeah, I don't see why not, because it was reviewed by the police commission back in, like,
Mm-hmm.
that's one of their first, I think that was their first ad hoc where they had
Yep.
community members as a part of the ad hoc back in like 2020 or 2019. So yeah, I think that would be something more specific to cite that policy. Maybe put that in here. I'm not sure exactly where to put that in here. I'm just going to type up. Okay, and then IG, what else are you thinking?
Well, sorry about that. Let me just kind of do one more thing. Hold on a second on mine. Okay. Okay, so then I was just reading the last bullet point there. Oversight mechanisms are more transparent and community driven, increasing public trust, and that's shown through our community engagement and outreach. That part I think is strong because it's factual. I just want to reword it correctly.
I was commenting to somebody in the chat, if you see that. I wasn't trying to interrupt.
So I'm sorry, Ms. Booker, do you have something?
No, I was just saying if I was responding to something in the chat.
Oh,
What'd you
okay,
say?
got you. So I think I'm going to reword this whole impact to constitutional policing. I'm going to reword that. We're going to take out that second bullet point, which is already taken out. And then these two bullet points, I think I'm going to just reword it to make it maybe one sentence. Um, uh, I think I like that idea of citing a DGO use of force. And okay. Now, my hardest part, the struggle I have is the last part. The OIG respectfully requests that the court direct the city to utilize OIG services in accordance with the authority and responsibilities outlined in the City Charter 604F5 and City Ordinance 2.45100. I struggle with that. Because I'm asking the court for something, I'm asking for something specific. But what am I asking? I'm asking the court to direct the city to utilize OIG services.
I
Well,
don't.
arguably, the city is going to say we are using OIG services just by in existence. Now, I disagree with that because of the lack of resources that we have and the eliminating positions, but I wasn't quite sure how to bring that home for the
Yeah, no, thank you. I don't think that the court can or will direct the city to like to do that anyway. I think that we could ask that in another way. Um, like just I'm not sure exactly yet how to ask, but it could be something to the effect of asking just looking to get their I don't know to looking for them to be in alignment with the current structure of the OIG office or something like that. I need to think about it a little bit more, but I think that it would be a good idea to try to get them to like commit to agreeing with how things have been designed.
Well, I think my opinionated opinion is this is a kind of aligned with the things I said earlier, where this is a progress report of what we done. I don't think it's a place to ask for anything. Um, Man, I could be wrong. I'm not attached to it, but the whole point of this is to be inserted as a update of where we are into moving towards our goals. And so this is saying essentially if we're asking for something, we're saying we're not aligned and we need outside support to actually make sure that the city is doing what they need to do, which is not an indicator that we can work together to move this forward. So I'm not sure. And obviously, Ricardo Chair's not here. There's those other meetings that happen, and there may be another opportunity to engage. But I think this is to ask for something needs to be thoughtful in a different way, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, but the point of the letter is to get isn't just to be like a progress report, like the defendant submit the progress report to the court. The point of the communication to the court is uh, to fight to keep things how they are, like how the IG is currently structured. That is, we're like arguing for that to make
But
sure.
that's not the that's our is that our agenda? Because that's not what the judge asked for. So now I'm
Yeah,
confused.
we're not. This has nothing to do with the judge. What the judge asked the city to communicate to them in the progress report that they sent a couple of weeks or on September 26th, and they're asking for again on October 21st. This is our separate communication report. This is something we discussed in the last NSA Ad Hoc. It's a continuation of that discussion. I've talked to the chair about whether he's on board with us doing this like that, and he said yes. And that's why I was bringing this up in the beginning to make sure that you understood the intent of this letter. That's the intent, is to, we don't want to see a change to the charter that changes with how things are currently structured in terms of the IG. And we want to show the importance of why it's imperative to keep things like they are. That's the point of this communication. And that's going to be a point of our CMC statement as well. That is our objective. So we can think about it, we don't have to decide right now. It's a lot to think about. It's a lot to consider. I agree with you, Shawana, that it should be done very thoughtfully. And I like an analogy that Katina used before, is just making it more palatable to the court. What were the three P's, Katina? Palatable, and I forget what the other two were. Katina, are you there? I would love it if you chimed in on this.
I am, and I don't, I completely do not remember my P's.
I know palatable was one of them. So
Yes.
if you have any comment, because we're going to run out of time, and then I want to go to quickly to public comment. I think Rajni Mandal is there. We want to give her a chance to speak her piece too.
Um,
And if you don't have anything right now, we can come back to it next Monday. That's fine too.
yeah, I have a couple comments, but they're probably a little longer than we have time for, so we can either talk about them next Monday or offline.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Chief of Staff, I think that there were some comments, and let's look at the comments in the chat first. She says she agrees with Vice Chair Booker's comments. Thank you very much. I agree with those as well. And then it looks like she made another comment. I would recommend reviewing the 2024 statement, show what progress has been made a year later. We have talked about doing that, and we did cite things that we wanted to build on from that statement moving forward, and we are going to discuss that more in the Director Action Plan. So I agree with that. I'm not sure if too much of that information needs to be in this specific letter to the court, but it definitely can be used in the CMC statement, and that's something that we're definitely considering and more than likely will do. Is there anything else? Is Miss Mondal still there? Does she have her hand up? Does anyone from the public?
There's no one in the
Okay.
audience at this time.
All right, Mr. Contreras, you get the last word.
Thank you. I've heard tonight a couple of times references to that the judge should already knows the responsibilities and duties of the Inspector General. I'm not quite sure that that's true. That was never part. Even the police commission was never part of the NSA, and so it wasn't only till 2023 that the court asked the police commission, because Chair Regina Jackson requested participation by the police commission, the oversight body that would be taking over the NSA. So I'm not quite sure whether that statement, you know, that the judge should know what the IG's responsibilities are, because so what I'm saying is everything that the IG put into this letter is true, and it needs to reinforce that. Maybe at our next meeting, we can maybe spend, you know, 5-10 minutes discussing that. That's my thought on this. You know, it could just be my opinion. Thank you.
No, I agree with you. Like in our last CMC statement, we did try to communicate how we saw that relationship moving forward. But maybe you're correct. You know, maybe the judge doesn't have a specific vision for it, and we need to create one for them. And I like that idea, especially because there isn't something specific on paper exactly how the relationship is supposed to move forward. So, with that, thank you everyone for being here. If there are no other comments, if I don't see you on Thursday, I will see you next Monday. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye-bye.